Hey guys, welcome to another R3 Q&A podcast video. Grab a snack and listen while we answer your questions and tell you all about the team. I'm Vanessa. I'm a mechanical lead on the team working with the chassis team. And I also am the media and outreach sub-team founder, and I work a lot with media and outreach on the team. I'm currently studying mechatronics engineering at Ryerson.
My name's Trevor and I'm the mechanical lead on the team as well. I just finished my third year of, I finished my third year of mechanical engineering, and I just finished my co-op term for 8 months, and I'm excited to be here today.
Hi, I'm Reem. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of R3. I'm also a member on the mechanical chassis team, and I'm the rep and robotics lead. Just finished my third year of university and my co-op term, and yeah, I'm also excited to be here.
All right, so should we jump into it? So the first most asked question, I'm sure I answer this all the time, is when is R3 accepting new members? I really want to join.
Yeah, so typically our recruiting season is just at the start of fall. So keep your eyes peeled on all of our social media. If you don't know, our Instagram is Ryerson Rams Robotics, and we have a link tree with all of our handles. So be sure to check that out and keep an eye on it.
Yeah,
and you will not miss it following the Instagram.
Yeah, we're definitely going to announce
updates and everything there.
Yeah, so if you follow our Instagram, it usually happens near the end of August. So we'll open up that recruitment like right before school starts again. And then we'll go in through the first month of school until we feel like, okay, we've gotten a lot of applicants. Probably most people who want to apply have applied. And we open up that once a year because our fall season is the training season. So that's when we acclimate all our new members, give everyone the skills they need to succeed in the team. And we do that all together as a cohort. If you feel like I'm really skilled at robotics, I've done tons of work, I have some amazing personal projects that I've done, you can reach out to our team email, r3@ryerson.ca. We want to see some projects you've done so that we know like where is your skill level at and what specifically are you experienced with. And so then if we have a side project that we think is a fit for you, we can get you on that. But otherwise, then we'll take you in the fall with everybody and we train everybody at once.
Well said. I think that's everything.
Yeah, so the next question is, what's something you worked on at R3 that you're really proud of?
Who wants to go first?
I can go. So it's been a challenge this year redesigning the chassis with very limited machining. We've been doing it during the pandemic, totally socially distanced. So we're now on our second iteration of the chassis. We made a really cool one first that was 3D printed, which was a whole new adventure for us. And that was because with our limited machining capabilities, that's something we could do totally piecemeal, and all different members printed panels of the chassis on their personal printers and we put them all together. So that was a really cool experience. And then on the media side, I'm really proud of founding the media and outreach team. So R3 is incredibly diverse. I think we have people in majors from every faculty at Ryerson. We have art students, business students, engineering students, science students, English students, you name it, probably there's a member studying that. And I think that's like the real world. If you talk to any companies, you need people with all different skill sets. You need really good communicators. You need people who are really good at business strategy. You need people who have a creative vision and can like make something beautiful. You need people who have the like the physics, that kind of background to like make a really successful mechanism. So I'm really excited that we've like really pushed for that diversity on the team. And with the media and outreach team, we've really improved our communication. So I think that's really
great. And all the interviews you do with the space figures and all the important people and like industry from the representation of robotics and the other videos, that's been awesome. something totally new, and I think it's worked out really, really well.
Yeah, it's awesome to hear their advice and like get their mentorship. I feel like we're opening our eyes to what's happening right now in the world of robotics, that we can talk to these professionals and really learn from them.
And even for us interviewing, like I was in the one with Dr. Tanya Harrison and Andrew Feldman from Robotics. Just talking with them, like hearing what they have to say, being able to ask someone a direct question was just like, it was mind blowing. It was awesome to hear their answers and just being able to interact with them.
So what are you two proud of that you've done on the team?
So for me personally, I think like when I rejoined the team again, I think what I'm most proud of is the code of conduct and really getting to work on that, just because it really ties in our values as a team where we have fun and everything, but we also bring that level of professionalism to the table. So I'm really proud of that. And currently, as I mentioned earlier, I'm helping out a bit on the chassis team. So for me, that's personally a challenge just because I'm not an engineering student myself. So I come from business technology management, but it's been so fun and challenging just to like learn all of that and try to contribute and bring some insight to the table. So yeah.
And that chassis is coming out damn good.
Thanks, Trevor.
One thing that I'm really proud of on the team is designing the 3-finger gripper. The previous model or the previous version was a 4-finger gripper, and it kind of struggled with grabbing things like a pen. Normally when you grab a pen, I'm grabbing with 3 fingers right now. If I were to do with 4 on the other end, it's kind of weird like how a gripper would work, 2 parallel ways. Anyways, I worked on the 3-finger gripper, and a big challenge with that was getting the fingers to actually overlap and close on top of each other, like going through each other, versus just coming to the same point and stopping. So fiddling around with the geometry, trying one way, trying another way, it ended up working out. It was a pretty big challenge. It took about 4 months, I would say, between start and 3D printed finished model. And then that just has to be created out of aluminum, but regardless, the design is ready to go. And yeah, just the SolidWorks skills that I learned. I was having trouble with something, I'd do a quick Google search, find the answer, ask someone on the team, find an answer. It was a pretty good exploration of knowledge for me to do that.
Yeah, your gripper's so awesome, Trevor. I was doing like a claw for a project in the winter, and I was thinking about your gripper. The geometry is the hardest part. I spent so long playing with my parts to get them like just to fit the object nicely. Yes, I agree with you.
It's a lot of trial and error, I found.
Yeah, definitely. It's not, you can calculate it, like you start off with calculations, but then it's like you have to play with it and fit it, like the fit. Yeah. If you're just getting started with SolidWorks, we do have SolidWorks tutorials led by Lucas Okay, I don't know how to. He has got a hard last name. You say it again.
Subotincic.
I never call him by his last name. I always call him by his first name. So anyways, he was the mechanical lead when I joined the team. And now he's our science mechanical lead. And Trevor and I were on the mechanical team under him, and he is amazing with SolidWorks. He also has TA'd SolidWorks courses at Ryerson, and he's now graduated. So really great tutorials. They're super succinct and cover all of the basics, the setup, how to use all of the tools. I use SolidWorks all the time, and he covered some tools that I forgot about. So I think it's really useful. If you want to look up at the top, we'll put a link to these tutorials and you should check them out.
Yeah, I highly recommend them. I've been looking at them too and really learning from them.
Yeah, they're really good.
I think they're very, yeah, they're good because just to compare with another tutorial, it does teach you everything, but stuff we use on the team, like it shows you all of that too. Like you might learn something from another one that's specific to, I'm going to say aerospace as just a guess. But this stuff is what we use on the team. So definitely very valuable to watch that.
Yeah, exactly. So the next question is, when did the robotics club start? So we actually have a pretty long history, don't we?
Yes, we do. So it started in 2013. The team captain at the time, Feroz Balsar, started with a few members, initially with Vex Robotics. Um, and Reem and I actually went to the last Vex competition that we participated in down in Kentucky, in Louisville, Kentucky. And it was a good trip, fun trip, and we did pretty well in the competition. Um, but yeah, so we started in 2013, and now in 2021, we're here doing focusing on the rover that we have, and we've done a bunch of other competitions, which Vanessa, if you'd like to speak about them, or Reem.
Yeah, we have a really diverse variety of competitions, and we're also keeping our mind open for the future, doing different robotics competitions. We're a robotics collective, so kind of depends on our manpower and our resources, but we love robots in all their shapes and forms. We've done Vex, like you mentioned. There was the Airbus Shop Floor Challenge. We had a Robo Sub for the Robo Nation Robo Sub competition. We compete in URC and CIRC, which is the rover competitions. Am I missing anything, Reem?
Yeah, so we also do like really fun collaborations. So with the Raptors, we actually designed Ramspot, which is so cool and exciting. I haven't personally seen Ramspot myself, but I know that it was like on the stadium and it was shooting through hoops with like a crazy percent average, which is amazing. And there's also our TSN goalie in the works. There's also a video tutorial series led by our team captain, Gabe Cassiano. So that's another really cool series that I recommend you guys check out.
Yeah, we can put the link here, and it's in partnership with the Sports Network, which is really cool. We are always looking for these amazing industry partnerships. And it's really fun to build these robots in collaboration with them. All right, so the next question is about the rover specifically. What functionality does the rover have? What can it do?
I guess I'll start this one. So, main thing, it drives. It
Right.
drives over rough terrain. It can drive autonomously. It can drive with a controller from a physical driver, at least a kilometer away with strong signal. It sends back a video feed of what's in front of it, below it, beside it, wherever we decide to put a camera. With that, you can also control the gripper from up to a kilometer away. What else does the rover do?
It can lift heavy things. It can push buttons and flip switches. It can pick up tools and drop them near a fake astronaut for that challenge. It can go over a drop. It's got a good suspension. We're
A
There's
now
bit more on the
making it
suspension.
waterproof and dustproof.
No, we can swim, joking. But there is a really cool component as well. So we have like a onboard science system where it's so cool. Like it can take soil samples directly in the rover and analyze it to see if there's any types of life out there or anything at all. And the really cool aspect is that it does that all in the rover. So it doesn't just like bring the samples back and we physically analyze it. It does that all on board.
Yeah. Also looks at rocks too to like look for soil. So if you are studying geology or life sciences, that's a really good option for you on the team if you wanted to look for Martian life in soil. All right, so speaking of that, what sub-teams are in the club?
Good convey to the next message or to the next question. So I guess I'll start off with the mech. There's the mechanical sub team, and within that we have two main projects going on. We have the TSN Robo Goalie, which we brought up earlier, and we also have the Rover. So on the Rover, there are 5 different sub teams currently. Vanessa leading the chassis. There's also the wheel hub we're working on, the motor mounts we're working on, which is very closely connected with the wheel hub. Then we have a waterproofing team, which is in the process of waterproofing all our accessory motors. And oh my gosh, what's the fifth one?
The wheels, the other wheels, wheel hub,
Oh, tire
chassis.
tread.
Yeah.
Tire tread. I was combining wheel hub and tire tread. So the wheel hub is like the rim of the tire, and then the tire tread is the actual tread which grips the ground. Um, so yeah, those are our 5 sub teams in mechanical, and then we also have the TSN Robo Goalie. And with that, we're building a robot goalie which will stand on the ice and save hockey pucks. So pretty cool stuff on mechanical team. I'm excited to be working with everyone. We also have the controls team. I don't know, do you guys want
That's
to talk
kind
about
of
it a little bit?
Yeah, so the controls is kind of 2 teams. So we have controls hardware, which is like electrical hardware, so board design, wiring, all of that. But they also do some software as well, so they have to know coding as well to some extent. And then there's the software team that is pure like software for controls, right?
Yep.
And
The
then
software would be like coding, um, well, specifically coding, but a bunch of different types of coding. I'm not too familiar with them, but
well,
it's there.
if you want to learn more about that, actually, our software lead, Mustafa Eid, did an entire Python tutorial series. So we mostly use Python on the team. But if you're thinking of joining the software team, it would be really great to go through that series and get familiar with Mustafa and the kinds of things we code on the team. So if you want to learn Python, you can check out the tutorial.
Yeah,
Highly recommend.
absolutely. I'm gonna watch them again myself. They're really good. And then moving on from the software, controls, and mechanical, we also have the science team, which has 3 different sub-teams within it. So there's like the pure science team, so soil analysis, and like different types of protocols to follow.
Get to
And
work with some really cool chemicals and figure out like how are we going to detect life in this soil sample.
yeah, it's so cool. And then also the science mechanical team led by Luca, which is like how to build the physical science controls hub on the rover. And then there's also the science controls team, which is all the controls systems similar to the
Like the rover control system, but then just specifically for the science carousel. So like how are we going to control the arm to pick up the soil sample, or how are we going to like get a closer look at this rock to figure out if it has a fossil. So they work really closely with the science team, the mechanical science team, but they write the instructions and do the electrical parts to make it all operate. And last but not least is the media and outreach team. So there's actually a whole bunch of sub-teams on the media and outreach team, and we do a lot of work. So for our competitions, we have to do system acceptance reviews. So that involves like a big official document on how we designed everything, but also a video showing our rover in action, which you can check out the series here. And we also have our Rep and Robotics series that we mentioned, where we interview professionals in the robotics industry and hear their advice and their experiences. And there's also an outreach team. So we teach coding and robotics to kids in primary school, high school, and university. So the outreach team does that work. And we have a graphic design team. You might have seen some of our amazing graphics in the thumbnails for our videos or on our Instagram at Ryerson Rams Robotics. So that's their work, their amazing work. And we have the video editing team, and they make all of these videos happen, including the one you're watching right now. I think that's all of the sub teams on the team, at least so far. Oh, we also have a sponsorship team, which is very exciting, and it's very new, led by Reem herself. So if you're a business student or any kind of student, you don't have to be studying business, but you're interested in that world, that would be a really good fit for you. Hey, Reem?
yeah, and we work with a lot of really great companies. So we work with big partners such as NVIDIA, Trexor Robotics, Neuronic Works, really cool, diverse companies. And we also do like 3 different types of sponsorship. So there's the monetary sponsorship, which, as the name says, it's mainly like cash type sponsorships. There's material sponsorships, which is our most common type, where we actually get parts or software. So like SolidWorks, for instance. And then the third type is like partnerships and collaborations, where you can see that with like our previous collaboration with the Raptors, Trexor Robotics, and TSN.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and that's how it works for both of us. Like, we get to do some really cool things for companies, but then that's how we operate as a student-run, not-for-profit organization. That's how we keep going. All right, so the next question is specifically to us. As leaders on the team, what has helped you build your leadership skills?
Who'd like to go first?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So when I first started being a leader, I was kind of like, what am I supposed to do? Like, how do things work? So I read a couple books. One really good one, actually recommended by Gabe, the team captain, was the 1 Minute Manager. And it tells you how to kind of not deal with people, but how to deal with situations very efficiently. So you start off by setting up a goal in one page, so you can easily reference back to it. Whenever someone does good work, you tell them, and whenever there's an issue, you bring it up right away, talk about it quickly, and move on. That's the quick summary of the book. I highly recommend reading it. Called The 1 Minute Manager. I'm not sure who the author is, but yeah, it's definitely there. And then once I started being more involved with everything and kind of understanding how things worked, just figuring out how to solve problems on the spot, especially like mechanical problems on the rover. If something breaks, it has to be fixed right away. For example, for SAR filming, it's a deadline coming up. It's usually in the middle of exams or just before exams. So you don't have all data, sort something out. So just problem solving is definitely an important skill. For example, during SAR week, it's usually the middle of exams. Everyone's like not rushing, but just want to kind of get in and out, get your stuff done and continue studying. So when something breaks on the rover, you have to be able to just snap your fingers and almost get it done right away. And also last but not least, working with your team just to figure out what they want, kind of figuring out how you want things done and how they want to do it. Bringing everyone's designs together, everyone's ideas, and combining it, and just getting a final product that's a combination of everyone, so everyone has an input and all that, and getting feedback from your team members, seeing what they thought of how you dealt with things, how you can improve for next time, just any sort of information back to you to see how you can be better next time. Yeah, that's what I got for being a leader, I think.
Yeah, that's great. I actually read that book on your recommendation too, and it was really good. And Gabe
Awesome.
also recommended a whole bunch of leadership books in a recent video, our nonfiction books video. So you can check that out if you want to read more about leadership, if it's something you're interested in. Reem and I also talk about some other books. There's this amazing book written by the chief engineer of NASA when he did the Curiosity rover, and I loved that book. Actually, my high school robotics teacher gave it to me when I graduated. He said, like, go off into the world, read this book, and do more robotics. And it was really good. So if you're into that kind of thing, definitely check it out. Yeah, for me, leadership, some of it's practice. Like, you get better as you do it more. You have to like put yourself in that past your comfort zone, and eventually it becomes your comfort zone. I think it's really true what Trevor said, like listening to people and checking in on people. Sometimes people are too shy to tell you they don't understand something or that they need help. And they just need that friendly leadership face to say, hey, I'm here for you. What's going on? And then everything gets solved. Being able to communicate technical information, and especially like design information, is a real skill that I'm building, and I think I'm getting a lot stronger at. So when you're talking to a group of people, getting everyone aligned on the same vision is sometimes really difficult, especially before it's been designed, before it's been built. So when everybody's agreeing on, okay, what vision are we going for? So that's a really interesting process. Something my team and I came up with and that they really like and I really like is actually at the end of our meetings now, they tell me what they think they're going to do this week. And it sounds silly, but they're like sometimes I even like I forget about it and they're like, okay, I want to tell you what I think I'm doing this week now. And it's been really great because you see where the communication has gone perfect and where it hasn't. And it's really been successful. So I think I really learned that. Also, time management. Being a leader on the team is a lot. Like, it's more of a commitment than just being a member. So you can be a member on the team and it's less of a commitment. But being a leader on the team, at the end of the day, it's your name on that project. So if something's not going well, it's your responsibility to step in and fix it and get it back on track. So uh, it's more of a commitment to be a leader. You have to check in on everybody, support them in their work, but it's also really rewarding because at the end of the day, like you brought that project from its beginnings to its end and you can see the final thing and be like, wow, we did it. And that's really cool too.
Very well said. Can I just add one point to communication?
Yeah.
Um, Even if you have the best idea in the whole world, if you can't communicate it and tell someone or explain to someone what you're thinking, it's almost useless. I'm sad to say, but it's very hard to do something on your own, and you need other people to help you with it. And being able to like explain that thing, it's it's super important. It's incredibly important. I can't stress that enough. Um, yeah.
Absolutely. And I feel like where I mainly gained my leadership skills is from group projects in school. So I'd constantly try to take initiative and then keep the team on track. And then with that, I often try to take leadership roles within each group. So that way, it's like a nice, easy way to kind of put yourself out there and challenge yourself. Um, and then on top of that, just putting yourself out there externally. So I gained like most of my leadership skills through case competitions. So in first and second year, I really sought out the case competitions. So for the business students, there's the Simcore case competition, which happens every year. And it's really competitive because you get like a case to solve within 24, 48 hours. And you have to present it to a panel of about like 16 judges that are professional industry leaders. So with that, you have to really communicate effectively and present your idea in a professional and concise way. So with that, it kind of helped with my communication skills and helped overall with my leadership skills as well.
Well, we're so lucky to have you, Reem. You are an amazing leader on the team. I'm always in awe of your organization skills. I am like, oh, I got to be more like Reem. You put together the best meeting notes and you're great at time management. So really,
Honestly, I'm in awe of everyone here. Like everyone's such a team player. And you yourself, Vanessa, like you do so much at once. Like I constantly look, I'm like, this girl's amazing. I don't know how she does it all.
well, thanks. We're all
I would say
we're
the
lucky.
exact
Like
same
I
for
think,
both.
oh,
And
thanks.
you too, Trevor, like you do
Yeah.
so much. And like especially like when you explain things, like when we work on the rover and stuff, most of the time, like I don't know how this works. You explain it in like such a perfect way, even like a non-engineering student like myself can understand. So that's amazing.
Oh my God. Thank you.
I think that's something really nice about our team is that we're actually friends. So, like we're leaders on the team,
Actually,
but
friends.
well, no, like that's the thing. Like R3 isn't so much like we are professional. We do operate professionally, but we're friends first. It's a community as well as a team. So, we go to our meetings not just like, oh yeah, we have to like plan the next thing for the rover, but we're like, I get to see my buddies. Like we can hang out for an hour and talk about robotics.
And then after the meetings, it's usually a good conversation about absolutely anything.
Yeah.
It's It's honestly so fun. Like I actually look forward to the meetings, as cheesy as that sounds.
Good times. Always good times.
Mhm.
Yeah. So now we have a question. How did you guys do in the system acceptance review for University Rover Challenge this year? So the answer is amazing. It was our best year ever in R3 history, which we're really excited about. All our hard work paid off. We got 88.6 points, which is a new record for us. The threshold for the top 36 teams was 77.7. So we're way above the threshold, which is really exciting. And the top 36 teams are who are usually invited to Utah to compete in the University Rover Challenge. Unfortunately, due to COVID this year, there was no in-person challenge. There was a virtual challenge, but because of the lockdown in May in Ontario, we weren't able to compete because we weren't allowed to meet to operate the rover. So just bad timing with our provincial regulations, but next year, hopefully we can go to competition. We all worked so hard on the system acceptance review, so it's really nice to see it pay off, eh?
Definitely. And there's a lot of working parts and they all seem to just mesh together very well. So at least we've, even though we didn't go to competition this year, we've definitely learned so much that we can apply for next year and the years moving forward. So it paid off, definitely.
Absolutely.
Very exciting. Something we got to hold on to because it's sad to not be able to compete, but at least we have that success to say, okay, we're still moving forward as a team and we're working on becoming better all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So the next question is, in non-COVID times, where is the robotics shop on campus? Our sweet shop.
I know I missed the shop.
Me too.
It's located in the Kerr Hall basement in the engineering design zone. I believe the actual room is KHE003E, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
Yeah, but it's just in the northeast corner of Kerr Hall in the basement. It's where a lot of the engineering design teams are, like Formulas across the hall from us. Baja's there as well. Most of the teams are down there. So once we're back in school, feel free to just walk around and check out whatever anyone's working on, because there's always something happening.
Yeah, it's a really nice place to be. It's near the pool, so it kind of smells like the pool. It's a very nostalgic smell for me walking down to the shop. And then it's on the other side, it's near the machining shop, which is where me and Trevor have spent many, many days machining parts for the rover, many hours, happy hours.
Yep.
I really miss that. Like when we get back to campus, the thing I'm really excited about is machining again.
Definitely. Used to be every Friday, right? Every
Yeah.
Friday from like noon to like 5 or whenever it closed. I think that was it.
Every Friday until they told
Something
us
like that.
home.
Yes, pretty much.
That's pretty fun, yeah.
We'll get there one day soon.
I miss the shop. It's been like 2 years for me.
And we
Oh,
used
no.
to hang out in the robotics shop. So we'd like have our meeting, but then we'd spend all night there. Like we'd do our labs or whatever our homework was. It's like a nice, like all your friends are there. And then also like, if you have a problem, you can say, hey, have you taken this course? Do you have any advice for me? And usually like there's all mix of years and disciplines. So that's kind of nice to like have that group of people around, and it's just like fun place to hang out.
It's like a lounge almost sometimes.
Yeah.
When work doesn't need to be done.
Yeah.
Gotta throw
Now
in
we got a
fall.
question from someone. I want to join the team this fall. What skills could I build over the summer to help me on the robotics team? Okay, so this is a great question. It really shows you're excited to join the team, and that's exactly the kind of person we're looking for as a new member. There's so many different things you can look at. You can definitely check out our channel for tutorials, but as well, personal projects are the best. That takes you through the whole creation cycle, and that's what we do on the team. We make things. So Whether you're in the media and outreach team and you're making a lesson plan to teach to kids, or if you are making a graphic design or making a video, like, so if you can do some of that on your own, it shows us that you have the initiative and you also have the skill set required to create something awesome, even on the technical side. So if you're in controls, if you want to do a hobby robotics project and do the control system, so like even like basic with Arduino or Raspberry Pi or whatever you have at your disposal. I think there's like some cool Lego kits that you can code. It can be anything, just to like practice creating a system and coding for it. Wouldn't you guys say? What would you suggest for things to prepare people to join the robotics team?
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. That sounds phenomenal. So, but if you don't have like the skill sets to do like the projects on your own, a really good place to start is to use tools like LinkedIn Learning, for instance. So, as students, we have access to all of the tools for free on there. So, I really recommend going there. And you can even share it with your network that you've developed the skill set. So that's just something to help you in the industry. And then apply those skills onto a physical project just to have something to prove. And you can also share that with your network.
Yeah, and it's great. It's more fun when you get to build something at the end, but also that's what cements your skills. So Trevor, what do you have to add on ways to prepare for joining the team in the fall if you want to work on some skills over the summer?
Okay, so I'm sure you said this, but it kind of cut out and I don't know. But 100% the personal projects. I know you said that. I just want to solidify it because it's so important. Just taking something like an idea and bring it to life, because that's what we do on a team. So that's basically could be your first project on the team that you don't even know yet. Um, also, just kind of learning the skills we use, like SolidWorks is a very big one. You may not have access to SolidWorks before you start school, so I would say Onshape is the next best bet. It's free online software. You don't need a crazy computer to run it. I think you can even do it from a tablet. It's not the same. I would recommend doing it from a computer, but it's just browser based and it runs well, and it's very similar to SolidWorks. So onshape.com would be the website. If you have access to SolidWorks or even Fusion 360 is another good one that's free. I highly recommend getting familiar with those. And also watching like some of the tutorials on our team's YouTube, like Luca's tutorial, Gabe's mechanical design tutorial. Those will definitely get you a head start with the mechanical team. And I think you mentioned it before, but Mustafa's Python tutorial. That'll give you a head start with learning Python and doing a quick project or learning the skills that we use on Python on the Rover on the team. So yeah, I would get started there for the
If you
summer.
want to go beyond the Python that Mustafa does, after you watch that tutorial, MIT has really great free open source Python courses. I'm personally taking one this summer just to get better at coding. And then after you do that, make a project with it, because that's how you really put the skills to use.
And actually, sorry as well.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Go for it.
I think we mentioned LinkedIn Learning. That's one of our first, that's what we did last year for our first mechanical kind of training session, was a LinkedIn Learning course. So even if you want to start with some LinkedIn Learning courses on SolidWorks or Onshape, that is definitely another good resource.
If you want to do something like more fun and relaxing to learn, is look at YouTube videos of machining. So something that's really important when you're designing parts, before you do the design, you have to think about how it's going to be made. So if you're doing like a hole to lighten a part, you want it to be like a slot that you can easily make on a mill, not some complex pattern that would have to be laser cut. Or if you are designing like for something cylindrical, then you would do it on a lathe. And you want to make it close to a stock size so that you don't have to remove more material than necessary, which will really speed up machining times if possible. Sometimes your design or your mechanism has constraints where you just have to make a difficult to make part. But whenever possible, you want to make it easy to make, or use something that you can buy rather than machine. Because machining, as Trevor and I said, we used to go every Friday as long as we could to machine the parts for the rover, and even then it was hard to get everything done. Machining is just very time intensive. So it's really great when you're designing if you can get an idea of how things are made. Plus, it's kind of cool to watch people make stuff. So I know Adam Savage has some stuff like that, but even if you just like type into YouTube, like making things on lathes, or like lathe tutorial or mill tutorial, it can be really fun, and it's good to have an idea of how those things are done.
Mhm. And just to add on a little bit more too, the stock size is like whatever you can buy. So like you can buy raw materials like a cylinder of 2-inch diameter and thickness of 1/8, for example, or a rectangular tube with a 2x1 outer dimensions and 1/4 thickness. Like you want to design from that and kind of figure out what material you need to remove or cut to get to your final design. If you pick some random length, you might not be able to buy it. So then you might have a problem. But anyways, that's pretty technical stuff, but just something to kind of keep your eyes out for.
Yeah. All right, so to follow up from that question, how much time per week should I dedicate to robotics work? This varies widely. It depends on who you are as a person and also the roles you choose to take on, right?
Yes. I would suggest a minimum of like 3 to 4 hours to get like to be able to get a decent amount of work done, feel satisfied with it, and not do too much. A minimum of that, I would say, I don't know, maximum. What do you think is a good maximum?
I don't think there's
I
a
would
maximum.
guess like 8.
I think it really depends how many teams are you on. So we really advise, at least when you first join, to just join one team. Although media and outreach is a bit of an outlier because that one can be less work intensive if you want to be like technical member and a media and outreach team member. Sometimes that's a good marriage because you can bring your technical expertise to our outreach work. So if you're really interested in like exploring that creative side of yourself while also doing technical work, you can do that. I'm a bit wild. I do so many things. So I'm probably at the extreme end of the scale. I founded the media and outreach team, so have been leading that now. Kelly has taken on lead of media and outreach, but I still lead it some weeks. We hand off if she's got something going on. And then I also work with the team, so work with representation in robotics or whoever needs help. And I also lead the chassis team, so I run a weekly meeting for that, but then also I check in with my team members throughout the week. I answer their questions, and then I do my own work. So I source all the materials, I buy the materials for the team, and then I send in check recs to the school to get paid back out of the team account. I problem solve. So sometimes they'll send me a design. I'm like, okay, that's not going to be manufacturable. Let's work on this. I help them through. And then outside of robotics, I also have a job. I also keep really high marks in school because I'm on scholarship. So I have to maintain a really high average for my scholarship. And I am the events chair for SEDS Canada, which is Students for the Exploration and Development of Space. So I lead multiple teams over there for SEDS Canada. We do things like NASA space apps nationally across Canada and our yearly Ascension conference, which happens in January. So got so many things going on, but I managed to do it. You have to know where your limit is. That I would say start small. So I started on the team just as a mechanical member. And that's all I did for the first year on the team. And that's how I really got comfortable with robotics and learned the skills I needed to really thrive on the team. And the longer I was on the team, the stronger I got and the more I could take on. So I would say start small and build up to your comfort zone, however you feel, whatever you want to work on. Part of that is my personality. I'm just the kind of person where I get excited about things and want to get involved. Yeah, that would be my advice. Don't overdo yourself. School is a lot. Yeah.
I'm honestly in awe of like all that you do at once and manage. Like it's phenomenal. Don't know how you do it. But yeah, like I agree with starting small and then but like maintaining at least like 2 to 3 hours per week because again, like you're joining the team to really learn and grow and contribute. So keep in mind you put in what you want to get out of it
Yeah.
as well. So yeah.
And if you want to grow, so say you have your eye on a lead position, a lot of the people who get promoted to lead, they are doing more than 2 to 3 hours of work. So they take on the complex projects. So if they're on a team and there's a more complex system to build, they volunteer to do that and they do a good job of it. And we see, okay, this person has the skills, they have the initiative, they have the work ethic. Like we know that they can handle a step up, you know? So it's kind of like that's how you demonstrate to us that you're ready for the the next level of responsibility.
And just to add on a little bit, I think like the more you take on at the beginning, after you're comfortable with all that, you find yourself working more efficiently, so you can do more in either the same amount of time or less time. Um, and that just kind of comes with, I guess, experience or just having that constant, like not pressure, but constant like flow of something to do. Um, yeah.
There's a good saying, I don't know who it's by, but if you want something done, ask a busy person. And it is true. Like I have so much going on. If someone asks me to do something, I do it right away because if I don't do it right away, it's not going to get done.
There's also the saying I like, if you want to find the easiest way to do something, ask a lazy person.
True. Like there's a sometimes there's unnecessary complexity.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. I also I think this might be interesting for us to talk about since we all have a lot on our plate. How do you manage your time? So for me, like I live by my Google Calendar and to-do lists. So I don't remember what I have to do every day. I can't keep it all in my head. Like I physically can't remember when all my meetings are. So everything goes in that Google Calendar and that tells me, oh, this is what I'm doing today. Cool. And I schedule everything. So like even when I'm gonna take a day off or when I'm gonna like eat dinner or work out, like I include that stuff in my calendar. I am that level of busy. But also like all my classes or when I'm gonna do an assignment, things like that.
That's for me, that's something I've been trying to practice or constantly do, because there'll be weeks where like everything's my calendar and I follow it, and then like the next week everything will be there and I kind of divert, and then the next week it's like gone. So I need to learn that. I've used an agenda before, just writing all my to-do list down, and then having like a master list of stuff to do, and then like plucking a couple things off at a time, like 3 a day, just to finish those. That worked for quite a while too, and then I don't know why, but I just kind of stopped doing it. Um, and having the same thing on a big whiteboard, and then like having your master list on a whiteboard, and then writing it down on a piece of paper that's like always in front of you, like under your computer, or like sticky notes under your computer or something like that. They have worked in the past for me. I just don't constantly follow them, and I have been working on trying to do that.
So what I do, I'm trying to aspire to the Google Calendar method as well. But the method that works best for me is the most annoying one I find. So what I like to do is I have like a pretty big monitor. It's like 32 inches, and then there's like a lot of space underneath it. So I have like post-it notes based on like the class or whatever I'm taking, and then like things and deadlines to do. So I have right now like 4 lined up on there. And whenever I'm done anything, I just like highlight it so it's done. And it just like it annoys me to have so many post-it notes that I'd want to do the task just so I can like remove it and throw it out. So annoyance works if you want to try that. But I think
Hey.
the most efficient is the Google Calendar.
I do a mix. Like sometimes I do the post-it notes too. I find it interesting what you guys said, like you get tired, and I find that too. So sometimes I'll cycle. Like for a while I always have the Google Calendar, but then sometimes I also switch back to like analog for a few weeks just because like I'm not following my Google Calendar. It's almost like I resent it telling me what to do. I take a little break and then I go back to it. It is the best because it's so organized and it like notifies you and everything. But then, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to keep up with everything. But I think it's important to like note. It just gets, especially with when school is full on, like you just can't remember everything, like all the due dates and everything. Like at the beginning of the semester, when we get our course calendars, I put in every due date. Like I spend a few hours, just like I put in all of my due dates for the semester. Yeah.
I think either like any way that works for you is good. Sorry, there's this fly that drives me nuts. I don't know if you can see it, but that's why I'm swatting like crazy.
Yeah, I saw it.
It's pretty big.
It's huge. But anything that's like written down or typed out, just if you keep it up in your head, you'll be sitting there like, oh, I have to do this. Oh, and I have to do that. Oh, and this too. Like it'll just be a constant cycle, and then you'll like repeat back to the first thing which you already forgot about, and it's just very stressful. So whatever works for you, as long as it's like in my opinion, just written down somewhere that you can see and look at, and like just leave it there. Keep it all on paper, not in your head.
I agree. I think it's like almost a relief, and you don't have that brain space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next question's a fun one. What are some of the best team bloopers? I think you're working on a blooper team. Reem's our resident meme expert. We have some pretty fun internal memes going on. She takes like funny pictures of people's faces that we can't live down.
Yeah, I'm planning on making like a meme version of like our SAR. So any bloopers we had like in meetings or while we were collaborating or anything like that. It's pretty great. Like we are professional, but we also like to have fun. So
You have to have fun.
exactly. It makes everything go by better.
I cannot wait for that video or whatever sort of format it is. Like I know it's gonna be good. So
I'm so excited. There's so many moments like that. We do so much dumb stuff. Like, oh, and then there's the
unintentional
times
most of
when
the
like
time.
the rover like falls over or like goes off the jump sideways.
And then like 10 people go run over to it, non-COVID times.
Yeah. Oh, I miss being all together. That's something I'm really excited for after COVID. I'm getting my
Definitely.
vaccine this Friday. I'm so excited.
That's awesome.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. One blooper that is ongoing is the Slack emojis. Um, it's usually, well, most recently it's been like someone's face when they make a silly face and it like either freezes on Zoom, or you end up getting a screenshot of it and then it goes in Slack, and like it's like a reaction to something. And it's like, you know, like the crying emoji, the laughing crying emoji, it's like, here's another one that works. So the Slack emojis and Discord emojis, they always get me.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Great.
All right, so last question. If you could give yourself advice back to when you were entering first year university, what would you tell your younger self?
This is a good one. Because there's so many things. I feel like there's so many things that you learn as you go through it, but you wouldn't have learned it if just, in some cases, if someone just told you about it. Like I feel like you have to go through it and just push. Um, sorry, go through it and push and just kind of fight through the struggle, and then you come out the other side and you're like, wow, I learned a lot, and I'm proud for doing that. But regardless of that, I would say don't stress too much about grades and all that. They are very important. I cannot disown that, or I can't put that down. Grades are important. But as long as you like, your health matters first. If you're too stressed and like you can't even think, take a day off. Like you have to. Uh, your grades will suffer. Everything else will suffer if you don't take care of yourself first. So I know it's very hard, especially in first year. But just figure out like what you need to do to kind of de-stress yourself and feel a bit better, because school is hard. It's very hard. It's worth it, but it's hard. And I'll probably think of a few more things as you guys talk to.
Yeah.
I would say that's really true. And like the jump from high school to university, actually first semester was the hardest semester for me. So even though the content is maybe not so bad as later semesters, I just had to learn how to do university. So it's a different way to learn. It's a different kind of projects. You kind of have to learn to get to know your professor and understand how they test because it varies widely class to class. Each professor has their own style. So whereas high school was more the same, like every teacher gave you tests, and all the tests were kind of a similar format. University is very different. They all give different kinds of exams, different numbers of exams, different kinds of projects, and you have to adapt to that, understanding what do they want from me. And you kind of also learn to predict what they're going to test you on. Like pay attention in class and say, like if they say, this is important, that means it's going to be on the exam. Like, or like look at their face and then they're like, if they're really into something, that's going to be something that they probably will test you on. That's something that they think is really valuable that you learn. I'd also say get involved. Like I got into the robotics team and the rock climbing club first year. So it was a nice balance of like a technical team and something just fun to let off steam. I love rock climbing in my off time. So that was a nice way to meet other people at the university and like go rock climbing once a week and keep in shape too. Like you have to keep your health up because university has really long hours. Make sure you sleep and like move. um, I also would tell myself to spec out my computer a little harder. I could have spent $500 more before first year. I bought a new computer before university and I actually just had to buy another one because I didn't go hard enough on my computer specs. And things like SolidWorks they are hard on your computer. So if you look at SolidWorks website, they'll tell you what they suggest for you to run the program, like what kind of specifications to have on your computer. So this is specific to like mechanical or mechatronics engineering. But if you want to do mechanical design, that's definitely something to look into. And don't get a Mac for mechanical specifically because it needs Windows. If you're in other things though, you don't have to worry about that. But that's a mechanical specific thing that I should have known before first year, and no one really tells you. And be really outgoing. Like everybody's trying to meet people. It's not weird in first year. Like everybody's making friends. Just introduce yourself, like all the time, and trying to like. It's hard with online, but try and like get into some teams. I think that's a really good way to meet people, even though it's online. Like in normal times, I just talk to the person next to me in every class and get to know people. And you see them again, especially if they're in your program. That's what I would tell my younger self, I think.
I really like that last tip, just talking to people.
Yeah.
Because that is how you make friends. And like you said, everyone like you usually want to talk to the person beside you, but you're like, oh, I'm kind of shy, I'm kind of scared. And they're probably thinking the exact same thing. So if you just make the jump and like do it, it will likely turn out good. And if not, if so happen, maybe they're mean or whatever. Now you know.
You just don't sit next
Very
to them
unlikely,
next
but
time.
there's a chance. Yeah.
But that's really, most people are nice.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Just have to
also
throw
like
that in.
holding on to the thought, I would be suffering in first year sometimes and think, why am I doing this to myself? But then it's also really exciting. So you kind of have to like reframe that stress into excitement. Like, instead of like, I have to learn this, I get to learn this. I know it's like kind of like slightly lying to yourself. Like it's painful in the moment, but later on you'll be glad you did it. And later on you'll look back with really strong fondness and say, wow, I've come so far. I'm a better person for it. But in the moment it's hard. So you just got to keep reminding yourself that like you're lucky to be there.
I agree. Yeah, I think like for me in first year, I would be like too focused on classes, and whenever I like studied, I'd go to like the seventh floor in the SLC, which is the quiet study zone. So I kind of like isolated myself, which isn't good. Something I improved on second year is became more outgoing and try to like become more social because that just changes your whole energy and your whole mood. And it actually gets you like motivated to talk about courses and just get involved more. So definitely don't isolate yourself, put yourself out there, and maybe like take on hobbies that benefit you past the immediate future. So with that, like exercise, it just gets your mind off of studying and it like benefits you and just gets you moving. And
Yeah,
then even
your
like
stress levels.
yeah, and even this is not related, but investing, invest early. It's gonna help you in your future. You can retire early. Enough of that. Just like really try and seek out things that benefit you past the immediate. So instead of like Netflix binge watching or anything, do something that'll help you. Even joining like extracurriculars. That's
And
a good
like
Like
study
planting the
groups, like
seeds to
you said,
harvest.
Reem. Like study groups are the best. It like makes you feel less alone in your pain, but also you can like support each other so that they'll understand something you don't, or you teach them a concept and you like really solidify it. So study groups are really great.
Just a little bit on study groups. I personally didn't find them too good just because the way that I learn. I found them great when we're preparing for a test and like you already know what you're doing. But if I was actually sitting down to learn something, I had a hard time working with someone else. Like I'd be the one that would go to like a quiet floor by myself, learn this stuff, and then converse with people, um, just to kind of like solidify it and go through an example. But um, I'm just saying that because in first year, I was always trying to work with people and I had a really hard time and it didn't suit me. So it depends on how you are. Um, and I guess that comes part of like learning how to study
Yeah, that's like back to what I
university.
was saying. Like first year was so hard for me because I didn't understand how to understand something. Like I was a top student in high school. It's not like I didn't study well in high school. It was just a whole new skill set in university to get used to. How to like break down a course, really master it and like be like, oh yeah, I get it. Or sometimes it's strategic. So you learn what to focus on in a course. You don't have to know everything. You have to know the important things.
But everything that Reem said about like doing something for your future self, it's like planting the seed now and then harvesting it later. You can't harvest that fruit until you plant the seed months before. So it's always something to think about like that. Like when if you make a decision, if you're making a decision like do this or that, think about what will help you later on. And usually it leads to the right choice.
That's great advice to end on, Trevor.
Oh, perfect.
Wow, it was so nice hanging with you two today. We hope that this was helpful or interesting for you if you're interested in the robotics team. We hope that the mosquitoes aren't biting you like they are Trevor right now.
Thank you. They're going crazy.
And yeah, check out some of our tutorials if you want to build your skills. And we hope to see you in late August or September when registration is open for recruitment.
Yes. Thank you, Reem and Vanessa, for hanging out, and thank you everyone for watching.
Thanks. It was really great hanging out with you guys.